I think a lot about why people want to read horror, look at horror, and what is the value of seeing something scary? Why do we want to write something scary? I do think about that. And my thinking is that life is kind of uncertain. The future is uncertain. We don't know what is going to happen. Maybe something bad is waiting for us. Like, we don't know. And there's that uncertainty and that anxiety that comes from not knowing that. So, if we see something scary, if we look at these scary things, then maybe we can prepare mentally for that. Maybe it's some kind of readying for our minds for possible future terrors. Junji Ito. This is the pursuit of anime, where we mix anime and philosophy in, I would hope, a fun way. You're joined here by myself, Raven, and Teddy.
Hello.
And, we're doing a special. It is around the Halloween season. So we thought we'd talk about horror and fear. And what better of a series to do that than Uzumaki, or just Junji Ito in general, who's an amazing horror mangaka. Right, Teddy?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Undeniably. I mean, you have people who don't even know about anime and manga like that who love Junji Ito. I mean, every day I walk around and I see people with shirts that are some kind of work from Junji Ito printed on them. So he's very popular. He's very popular across different demographics for sure.
Yeah. The impact is kind of crazy now. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was your first time reading Uzumaki, like this past month or
Yeah,
so.
it was. I'd heard about it before, and but I didn't really look into it. I was familiar with Junji Ito already because he had one uh series of works that was done into um that got an anime adaptation. So I watched that. So I was already a little bit familiar with his game, if you will.
Yeah,
Um Dude is he has a great mind for horror for sure. The things that he does, um they're unique in their own right. You don't really see that anywhere else. He's distinguished himself in the field of horror. Like when he does something, you can tell right away. Oh, that's Yujito. He has a
yeah,
very particular style.
yeah. Now, I guess, like, what were some of your overall thoughts of Uzumaki? And I guess more importantly, what moment scared you the most, or what aspect of it scared you the most? What was a moment or a scene that you were like, man, this is scary?
Mm. I guess what's scarier to me is anything that seemed to be that felt relatable or that felt like it could actually happen because blaming on the fact that I've consumed a lot of stories over the years, whether it be just like manga, anime in general, just stories as a whole. So it's not too much that quote unquote scares me. It's more so disturbing, right? But what scares me is the stuff that I could see happen in real life, whether or not it's a realistic kind of impression for me to have that it can really happen. So the one thing that I saw, and the one story that I was like, okay, this is really just what happened.
No, no, no. Just go ahead. It's just
Oh,
the way
okay.
you're getting into it.
Yeah, yeah, because um, the one story about the girl who
Hmm.
had the scar on her face that was initially crescent moon shaped, but then because she was in that town with the whole craziness that was happening around spirals, he turned her scar into a spiral that ended up consuming her. It's not so much the fact that that happened, it's everything that happened around it that I feel like was painted in such a realistic way compared to everything else. Because all the other stories that I read in that collection, they had some kind of overdone, like almost surreal nature to them. But with her, her obsession with Curious boyfriend or whatever, the way Junji Ito put it together, it made that story very it felt real, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like it's the girl who's always used to getting her way with any guy that she likes. And then all of a sudden she runs into this guy who is not even that interested in her, but add to that the fact that now there's a spiral forming on her head, and with all the trauma that he's already experienced around spirals, it's turning him off even more if he wasn't already turned off already. So it just fuels her obsession with him, where she's ready to do anything and everything to get him. And I was like, ooh, that's like there's something that's based in realism, but then you add the horror spin to it, and it just turns into this weird scenario that you would say normally, oh, there's no way this is actually going to happen. But it makes sense to me that something like that could actually happen, and your obsession consumes you, which is what happened with her essentially, because after the spiral eventually consumed her completely and she evaporated. Like you just there's nothing left of you after that, right? And when I saw that, I felt like it was a beautiful metaphor for what happens to people in real life, because you get obsessed with someone or something to the point where it completely consumes you and takes over your life, and there's nothing left
Yeah.
of you, right? So that one story, I've read that and he stuck with me. I was like, ooh, this is so if you ask me one that really scared me, I'll say that one. But the other there are a bunch of other ones that are more so disturbing, and
Yeah.
it just kind of it gives me this just this yucky feeling. Like it doesn't scare me. It's just like, oh,
It's
I
just
don't
very
like it.
disturbing. It's
It's extremely
unsettling.
disturbing. Yeah,
I
exactly.
know,
That's the right word, unsettling.
and one of the words that you said, like consuming, that's one of the, like, I guess, key words for me when I'm reading this manga is the spiral is all consuming. So I feel like the thing that stood out to me the most and scared me the most now, it's been a long time since I read it. So, this is just off of memory, but like I think it was the second chapter. So you go through what happened to Shuichi's father,
Yeah.
the dude. He became obsessed with the spirals, right? And his wife is seeing him throughout the first chapter, like getting
Oh,
obsessed with the spirals to the point that
yeah.
what happens to him happens, and that panel of him just like completely churned in I don't even remember what it was. It was in some basement or something.
Yeah.
He was turned into like some pie. It was insane, right? But I wasn't like that was chapter one, right?
Yeah, it was
So
chapter one.
I'm thinking after that, like first time reading it, I'm like, how are they gonna top this? Because that was disturbing. And I was reading this at like 3 a.m. So I was like, this is legit scary. I don't even know if I'm asleep tonight. And so I turned the page, next chapter, and they're focusing on his wife, the widowed wife, the mother of Shuichi. And
Mhm.
so she's in the hospital now. I forget why she was in the hospital, but she's in the hospital and she starts getting haunted by uh her dead husband's voice. And basically what he's saying is, and I hadn't thought about the spirals in this way, because in the first chapter, they show you all the obvious things like snails have spirals. When you flush a toilet, there's a spiral, like things like that. You can move your eyes in a circle and it's a spiral, right?
That's
But
freaky, but yeah.
but then the husband comes and starts telling her, "Hey, there's a spiral in your ear. Did you know that
Yeah.
the ear canal is actually shaped like a spiral?" And
Yes.
she starts like going crazy, like, "Yo, show me
I need a chart
I need
of
a
the inner
chart."
ear. I need to see, do I actually have spirals in there? Because if I do, they gotta go. I'm like, nah, nah, come
That
on
scared me
now.
because like you see the reaction of the kids while they're seeing their mother like that, and that's like you said is
That's
very
another one that's
realistic.
very relatable too. Yeah.
Yeah, like even though it's like almost dumb, like with the amount of surrealism there. it's still something that's so real and something that people can actually face in real life. And when you get to the point that she literally like the IV that's hooked up to her starts spiraling and going into her blood, and she disconnects it. Like it gets to the point that she literally takes a scissor, I think it is, or a scalpel, and starts jamming
Jesus.
her ears out. She
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
to the point that she dies. And then you just see
Yeah.
that she's dead, and I'm like, wow, that woman suffered to the last breath of her life. Like it was like I would never want to die like that, and that
That
really
is a
scared
horrible
me.
way to go. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's like you can empathize for what she's going through. You can just imagine the pain, right? Just going straight into your ears like that. Like, oh,
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, to me, that's the stuff that gets really scary more so than because the other stuff, I look at it, I'm like, okay, clearly, like this is extremely like I feel like, for example, if you open a jar and you saw somebody contorted like that, you probably be revolted, disgusted, disturbed, but you won't. You might not necessarily be scared unless somebody said, "I'm coming for you. I'm going to turn you into that." Then it gets scary.
yeah,
But if you just see something like that, it's the disturbing factor that's really dialed up to 100. It's like, no, I don't.
yeah.
This is not. This is unsettling. You
But
know,
then you know what makes it so scary is that it's not just one instance, it just keeps adding up. Like the
yeah, it just
spirals
never
just
stops. It's
it never
unrelenting.
stops. And there's no reason why. Like you're just seeing people dying because of these spirals. The spirals are affecting you. They're affecting everyone you know and love. And you have no idea why. It's this like primal fear of the unknown. You can't control it. There's no way to fight against it. It just keeps coming and you don't know in what way it's going to come, you know?
Yeah.
And I think the quote that we opened up with about Junji Ito, he was talking about that he meditates often on why do people want to read horror, and he's a horror author, right? So he's like wondering why do people even want to read this crap, and what is the value of people reading my work, right? And he does think about that often, and of course his answer, as we saw, was that maybe bad things are waiting for us later on in life, and there's uncertainty and anxiety that comes from it, right? So if we see something scary now, it can help prime us and prepare us mentally for those scary things. So maybe horror is a way of readying our minds for possible future terrors. Do you kind of see legitimacy to that philosophy on fear, Teddy? Or do you see it a different way? Like, why do people read horror? Why?
Honestly, I wouldn't even know because you're more into horror than I am. I don't read horror, so I don't get it, right? But in
Yeah,
my assumption, right, is that there is some truth to what he says because I run scenarios in my head sometimes of events that may go south, right? And
yeah,
it's not even like I wouldn't be able to tell you for the life of me why that happens. It's just that I guess as you get older, you understand that life is a balance, is a matter of balance. So for as much good as that happens in your life, there's also some bad that's going to happen, right? So the way I think all the time is, what if somebody tried to run me over in a car with a car? Or what if there's a bunch of needles somewhere on the floor and then I slip and fall and then just like on some Final Destination type stuff, things like that. And it's definitely scary. Sometimes it's funny. You're just thinking about how ridiculous some of the scenarios get, but I can see where he's coming from saying that. What I find more um fascinating about his approach is the fact that nothing about his style of horror is a depiction of what people can legitimately fear.
yeah,
Everything he does is like some kind of surrealism, or he will use some extremely demented idea and think, okay, how far can I take this in the horror direction?
yeah.
I told you that I watched some of his work before, right?
Hmm.
And this one story that is stuck in my mind because I felt like this he let his intrusive thoughts win on that. And I can see how somebody would do that, but it's like, ooh, why? So it was like a restaurant shop owner story where uh people would go there all the time because the meat that the guy used in his dishes was some of the most succulent, soft, just prime grade meat that you could find anywhere. And I forget the details of the story, but it turns out that some of the meat that he was feeding people was human meat, right? And the reason why it was so tender and succulent and delicious because it was meat that was fed a lot of fat, like oil and everything. And there was one scene because the shop owner he had a son and a daughter, right? And the son, he was basically the dad was getting him ready to be for his meat to be used in the dishes. They did some really disturbing stuff. And so he kept feeding him a lot of oil, right? And
Oh
fats
my
and
god.
everything. And something that you know, especially going through your teenage years, is that you can develop a lot of acne if you get all kinds of fats and stuff, right?
Yeah.
There's a scene where because he's eating so much fat and then he has a breakout all over his face, right? And the stuff is full. It's juicy. So what he does is he leans over his sister, and to scare her, you know what he does?
What?
He squeezes his face. So
Oh,
all of the stuff, like the
the pus and
the
everything.
pus and everything just oozes out like a river just on her. I
Jesus
remember
Christ.
that scene to this day. I'm like, Junji, into what is wrong with you? Why do you think of stuff? And that's what I mean when I say like it's not necessarily like scary, it's just extremely disturbing. It's demented. Like what like how does your mind function? What kind of person goes through their day thinking, oh, that would be really messed up to do something like let's put it to paper, let's bring it to life. Like, no, keep that in the drafts. Like nobody needs to see that. But he will go and do it, right? So that's why I think to myself, like, bro, I understand the logic behind what you do, but what like why does he translate into that? Like, I feel like that's just so crazy. To me, when he said, oh, maybe the reason why people gravitate to horror is because of the latent fears that they have, because they understand like with life, something bad might happen to you in the future. I think of Final Destination. That's just this the type of stuff, the type of story where those different scenarios happen where they're absolutely horrific, right? This is like extremes, but they can happen,
Yeah.
and we see how they can happen. So then you become paranoid and everything, if you buy too much into it. But at least it's a real fear. It's based in reality. What he does is based in surrealism. So it's like sometimes I wonder if he's like, if you can stomach my stuff, life is gonna be a breeze for you. Because there's no way life can actually be as bad as what I depict in my stories, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I feel
It
like you probably know more about this than I do. And you
no,
like to
no.
get
I
into.
I think you're talking I think you're speaking complete facts. Like that's the thing. So my story, like me growing up, right? I'm I was really scared growing up of like Michael Myers, like from Halloween as a kid.
You wouldn't
I
be
would
normal if you weren't scared.
Yeah, I was scared. I was like, "Oh my god, like what's gonna happen?" Like, but I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit different because Courage the Cowardly Dog. I don't know if you know that show was my favorite show
Mm.
growing up as a kid, and I think it all stems from one night where I fell asleep on the couch, and I guess me and my parents or me and my brother, I don't know who I was with, but we're watching this show like on repeat, Courage the Cowardly Dog, and I fell asleep. I woke up in the middle of the night because I had to use the bathroom or for whatever reason. It was like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Not much has changed since I've grown up because I still wake up all the time in the middle of the night. Um, so I wake up and they're playing Courage the Cowardly Dog, but the Exorcist episode. So you see Muriel, she is possessed by a demon that like came from a mattress or something, and she is just in the most demonic. It's one of the scariest episodes of Courage the Cowardly Dog. If you haven't seen it, it's basically The Exorcist but a cartoon. And I was really young watching that late at night, and it scared the absolute hell out of me as a kid. And I don't know why. Maybe there's something wrong with me, but my brain's instant chemical reaction after that was, look, this is awesome. You got to do this again. And Courage the Cowardly Dog became my favorite show, and horror became my favorite genre for film and stuff like that. Love horror to death, and I do think that like over time, I was so scared of like Halloween, right? But nowadays, I'll watch Halloween and it's like nothing to me. Like I'm just like, bro, come on, man. This is amateur hour. This is chump change right here. Like, get this out of my face, you know? I even watched Evil Dead Rise recently, and I was laughing throughout the whole. Like, the movie was genuinely hilarious to me. So I do get that sense of what Junji Ito is saying, where like you can kind of, you know, exercise your fear or your anxiety tolerance levels, you know? You can basically become brolic when it comes to your tolerance for anxiety and fear. You can almost become desensitized. I know there's a whole other community that is I think a little too extreme, but there's the gore community where they just watch a bunch of gore videos, like real life, you know, beheadings or what have you, in order to desensitize themselves to if they ever see like real life, you know, death or anything, which
Mhm.
is kind of too crazy for me. But I can see that coming into fear when it comes to the horror genre, to where you if you see a lot of horror movies. I don't know if you ever seen horror movies where like picture this. Yeah, you have the female character, the female lead. It's usually the female lead where this happens, where all throughout the movie she's running around, she's scared, she's screaming. You know, the big bad is after her. And towards the end, she's done so much running, so much screaming. She's just like, you know what, screw this. She grabs a chainsaw and she just like starts, you know, buzzing the crap out of the big spook, you know? It's a common trope. And I feel like that is kind of how we can be with horror too, where we're like we see it so much on repeat, and we can kind of start to acclimate to it, if that makes sense. I don't know if you see it
Yeah.
that way, Teddy.
Uh, for me, it's different because like uh I guess so based on what I've heard, right? When people have told me, people who are into horror, they do enjoy the jump scare. It's like it's not that they're immune to it, it's that they enjoy that feeling of being scared. But it's like um it's like the adrenaline rush that you get from it, but you're safe because you're watching it, right? Which is different from if you're actually experiencing it. It's like um I'm about to go rated R a little bit for a second, but bear with me. I'll try to
Yeah.
paint it in as wholesome terms as I can possibly muster. So you think of when you're doing the deed, right, with your lady, and she wants you to be a little bit rough with her. We're talking, hair grabbing, pulling, maybe a little bit of smacking, this and that, you know. So when it's like that, right, it's in a controlled environment. Nobody would ever want to be treated that way normally, but it's a kind of adrenaline rush that you get from that,
Yeah.
whether people want to admit to it or not. And so it's a high. It's kind of a high that they get from it, but it's in a controlled environment, so they enjoy it then. And I feel like it's the same with horror, where if it was something that would be happening in real time, they wouldn't enjoy it as much. Like if you have some terrifying clown walking slowly after you in real life, you don't find that exciting at all. This you fear for your life at that point, right? But is the fact that you're watching it, you get to experience the feeling of what that must be like without actually going through that. And there's a kind of excitement and adrenaline rush that comes from it, and people chase that dopamine release in that aspect, right? I don't have that like that, so I can't relate. But based on what I've heard, is what happens, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I get it. If that's what you're into, I can see how you would enjoy horror, right?
Yeah.
Because it really it scratches that itch, if it feeds into that need. So I can
Yeah.
understand. But for me, the reason why it's kind of hard sometimes with horror is because I've seen some good horror, right? And when it's done well, it's really fun. I can see it because it's like everything is a full body experience almost. Like they play with all your senses, to at least all the senses that they can play with. They didn't really play with touch or taste, but everything else,
Yeah.
like the sounds and everything. You know how they have specific sound effects that play at very particular times, if it's a movie or a TV show or something that you're watching, versus when you're reading it, the paneling, especially with Junji Ito, like that he's going to frame it in a way where you flip the page and right there you get this huge spread of something, and it's like, oh my days, what am I looking at right now? This is freaky, right? And so that's one thing that I really enjoy about that genre, is the way you the way you frame the story goes a long way to tell it in a particular way, versus other stories where it's more so the actual plot, right? The characters, the things that are more intangible, that really give the feeling. But with horror, it's just more so the very practical stuff. Like, how do you frame your panels? How
Yeah.
do you position? What lighting do you use? What kind of music do you want to use at this particular point in time to convey a particular effect? And even for somebody like me, who's not an expert on horror, I can tell that for the most part, usually it works. It's like they know what they're doing, and it's like, okay, you're going to jump when we want you to jump.
Yeah.
And so I can see the appeal, if it's something you're into, where you know that you can count on it being good, or at least decent, because it's a formula that's been tested and proven to work
Yeah.
on a regular basis. So,
Teddy, what about in your real, like, in, let's say this, like, have you ever, let's say, like, when you were younger or even now, experienced this? I know a lot of people do, and I do myself. When you are in a dark room, or a basement, right? It's in the middle of the
oh
night, there's no light. Do you ever get that feeling of like there's just something behind you chasing you
yes,
and you had to move quicker to get
yes,
back to your room?
yeah. All Listen, even in my adult life, I've gotten to a point where sometimes I just have to actively brush off that feeling and be like, dude, don't be silly. There's absolutely nothing there. What are you
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah,
And
you break it through rationale.
you
You know how I do it? Just
right.
really quick, and this is gonna be just a really quick
No,
tangent
go
because
for it, go for it, go for it.
I'm gonna bring in one of my other favorite series, Bleach. Do you remember As Not?
Yes, 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 yes.
The fear, the embodiment
Right.
of fear, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
he destroys Byakuya. He just bodies him. By the way, he bodied him only because of a hack. Byakuya was gonna destroy him, anyways. But
Yeah,
um, when Byakuya comes back and Rukia is about to be overcome by the fear, right?
yeah,
Byakuya comes back and he just brushes it off like it's nothing, right? And what does he tell her? He tells her, "Listen, take a good look. Like, stop thinking about the fear and just look at him. What's reflected in him and what's in you right now is not even fear. As long as there is no fear in your heart, all that you're seeing right now is his insecurity. So fear is an insecurity, right? It's
yeah,
something that has to come from within you first. It's not something that is an external factor that he's putting into you. It's something that he's drawing out from within you, right?
Mm,
So I experienced this the other day because it hadn't happened to me in a while, right? Maybe like a few years. But I was going to the bathroom, taking my nightly, leak,
mhm,
the nightly whiz. I'm walking back to my room, and it's dark, midnight, and I start feeling that chill down my spine, like, whoa, like what's coming for me right now, you know?
mhm,
And then to literally, like, no joke, like, remember this kind of, I started meditating about this quote because I knew we're gonna do this topic, and I was like, you know what, that's true. I'm not even gonna go back to my room and rush like I want to, because I wanted to just run back into my room and be like, yo, like, I'm going back to sleep. Screw this. I'm not even gonna stay out here and see what's going on. I stood there. I said, take a deep breath, turn around, and be at peace with the fact that there's nothing there, and even if there is, you're gonna be ready to face it.
yeah, sometimes you just have to confront it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of trying to like work around it. No, I agree. I feel like that's the best that's the best approach in my opinion, because
Yeah.
it builds you, it makes you stronger as a result. Like we're talking dark rooms, my guy. Sometimes I'm just wake up in the morning, I'm about to use the sink, brush my teeth. When I'm washing my face, I have to get up real quick and look in the mirror, make sure there's nothing creeping up behind me. You
Yeah.
feel like that? It's not, it doesn't have to be a dark room. Everything could be fully lit. Like I'm talking, I need a shower sometimes. And it also depends on what I saw before then. So these are the two most recent times that I remember this happening. Uh have you heard of the terraformers?
Oh, the cockroach anime.
Oh my God.
I've seen it.
I was not ready, and I saw an image of a close up of one of their faces. When I tell you I was mad that I saw that, because I hated it so much. Like that stuff, it was both disturbing and scary to me. And
Yeah.
I don't know how it works for other people, but for me, when I see something that really unsettles my soul on a deep level, every time I close my eyes, I see it.
Yeah.
So when I go in the shower, I'm running water down my face. Now it's not just when I close my eyes, I see it. I have an external matter touching me, which is the water. So you combine that with the fact that I have this horrible image playing in my mind, and it's a terrifying experience. So I close my eyes and I have to actively repress that image, like, dude, stop, 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 stop thinking about it. So, and that stuff, oh gosh, this one thing I told myself I would never check out that story, because if it's crawling with a bunch of these abominations, I'm okay. I am all the way good. I don't need that in my life. The other time that it happened was on TikTok. I was scrolling through, and somebody was talking about Christianism and angels. Now, when I think of angels, I think of the babies with the wings. They all look all cute and stuff. The biblical angels are demons.
Yeah.
Those things, they don't look right. I'm like, this cannot be angels. Those are demon spawns. Those are hell spawns. These are not. No, I cannot associate that with holiness or divinity or Christianism at all. Like y'all need to rectify this. This is an error. When I saw those things, I was like, I almost screamed, because, mind you, it was at 5 a.m. I was, when you're like, you're waking up but not really waking up, you're kind
Yeah.
of in that weird state where you're not fully conscious yet, but you're kind of aware of your surroundings. That's where I was. And I saw this, I sobered up right away. All of a sudden, I was fully awake. Like, no, what is this? What am I looking at right now? And then it happened. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw a bunch of angels. And some people would think that's a good thing. Not the kind of angels I saw. That's not a good thing at all. It's traumatizing. It's scary. So I was like, yeah, I no. And then combine that with, sometimes I come home, and if it's the end of the day, the lights are not on yet, so everything is dark. And I'm thinking of those angels. I am running to my room. I'm like, like fast walking. Okay,
Yeah.
just yeah, because I know I don't even know why I brought back those repressed memories, man. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's the way it is, man. Fear is a funny thing where like sometimes it could be very trivial. Like I know for me, like sometimes you just walk into the bathroom and the light is off and you get scared. But then there's other times where like I'm walking through my house, the lights are off, I'm going to the bathroom, and I'm listening to like videos like Eudoxia Mysteries or like Nick Crowley, like the most disturbing top 10
And it just doesn't
stories.
phase you for whatever reason, right?
Yeah, and I'm
It
just like,
really
this is
depends on what
cathartic.
kind of mind, like state of mind you're in.
Yeah,
Like, I feel like if I just came back from a mean pump at the gym, there ain't much that can phase me. I'm in a different place.
yeah,
When I just completed a dope workout, I feel like I'm invincible. I feel
yeah,
like I'm that guy. So if I get hit with some of the stuff at that time, I'm like, oh, man, listen, I'm on a different stratosphere right now, my guy. I don't.
yeah.
I'm operating on a higher level. I'm on a higher frequency. This is nothing to me. Okay, so
Yeah, it's like Byakuya with like that Byakuya quote, like it's nothing, like it's only as scary as you let it be, you know? It's
that's
only as
facts.
fearful, like because the fear is your own. It's like think about it this way, Teddy. You think of happiness and joy, right, as your own, right?
Hmm.
If I told you, yo, Teddy, like the way you've been talking recently, you sound sad, bro. You sound like you're depressed, man. What's your initial reaction like if you say to yourself, yeah, Raven's right, I have been pretty depressed? What's your initial reaction if you want to be happy, right? You know
Hmm.
what you had to do to make yourself happy, right? Maybe buy yourself some of those beautiful croissants and ham cheese sandwich you got on your profile picture.
Hmm.
Maybe go out to the park or whatever it is you like to do, pop in a new anime,
Yeah,
put on your favorite songs. You know what to do, right? Because you know how to control that joy, that happiness, that emotion. When you get angry, you know how to control yourself so you don't spaz out, and why is it that with when it comes to fear, we just kind of try to repress it and shy away from it? No, we should try to embrace it and have a full control over it and discipline that area of our psyche,
you know what's scary about fear though?
what
You don't choose what scares you.
you don't choose what scares you.
That's the
Yeah,
problem. Like with other feelings of happiness, sadness, like there's things that you can do to not. There are things that you are scared of that you yourself don't even know why that is, but you just are. And that's what's so annoying about fear, where you can do the best you can to really face it and everything, but if somebody catches you off guard, that fear is creeping right back up because it's innate in all of us, and we all fear different things.
yeah,
That's what makes it such a hard emotion to deal with, because we could both be looking at something, and I'm gonna be deeply disturbed where you're gonna look at me like, what's wrong with you? And then vice versa, where we're both looking at something and you're like, hey yo, can we go? Like, I don't like this. And I'm like, well, no, let's stay a little bit longer. Like, what you mean, right? Like, it's just it you don't choose what disturbs you.
yeah,
And it's so unsettling, it's so hard to deal with. It's rough. It's rough. Like, there are certain things that I have uh gone past, but I'm still scared of them.
yeah,
Like, if I saw them today, I would be able to steal my heart and be tough in the face of it, but it still scares me, right? It's not like it doesn't phase me. It does. But I just try my best to overcome it and choose not to let it, like,
like overcome you or
overcome
overtake you.
me. Yeah, exactly. So I can, and as we speak right now, I have all kinds of different things that used to scare me that I think about. I'm like, yeah, if I saw this today, I would still be deeply disturbed by it, but I would try not to let it get to me,
Yeah,
you know? So,
yeah. There is value, like when overcoming fear. I think there is value to like Junji Ito's philosophy on fear and even Byakuya's philosophy on fear. Just like you know, trying to control it and acknowledging that fear does come from within you first. So you're the one who has basically first dibs on controlling it. Don't just hand it over to whatever it is that you're scared of, basically, even though you are scared of it. Take it back into your hands and start controlling it. And with Junji Ito, his philosophy is basically like, look, you're scared of this, expose yourself to it more often because it will prepare you to face it in the future, right? I I think I understand both of them because and I resonate and connect with both of these philosophies because for me, I love boxing and one of the great quotes like from Mike Tyson was him talking about how every fight that he ever went into, he was absolutely scared out of his mind, you know? Like he was always scared when he went into a
Like
fight
the
because
closer he got to the ring, yeah.
yeah, you get the jitters. And I completely get why. You're in a crowd of people and you're fighting. Like when you're in the ring in at that level, you know,
But you know what?
who
I
knows
feel
what
like
could happen.
with that is a little bit different because
Yeah.
I liken it to public speaking. You've probably taken public speaking classes before, right?
Yeah.
The way it goes is, um, at least for me, all the whole time leading up to when I have to get up and go give that presentation, my butt cheeks are sweating. Like there's no friction there. They're rubbing against each other smooth because the sweat, right? Like I'm nervous as all get out. But then as soon as I get there, the thing is, once you're there, it's over. You're already there. So you might as well just do it, right? Because there's nothing else to fear. Because what we fear is the anticipation leading up to it. But once you get there, it's over. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm here now. Let's go. Let's do this thing.
Mhm.
And then you flow. But
But also,
yeah, go
like
ahead.
I feel like also the fear and anxiety might stem from the fact that we don't do public speaking that often, right? So like me, I'm a server, and when I first started serving, I was really scared for the first like few weeks, maybe even the first year. Like there were certain times where like certain tables would ask me things about cocktails, like, "Oh, hey, give me an old fashioned." I'm like, bro, I don't even drink. Like what's an old fashioned, bro? Like,
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
sweating. I'm like, bro, what liquor? Like, what alcohol is that? Like, is it gin? Is it vodka? Like, what do I? How do I put that in the system? Like, I don't know what to do. I remember there was this one day I was working all by myself in a restaurant and there was no bartender. It was just me. And someone asked me for an espresso martini freaking at like noon. And I'm just like, I was scared. I was like, bro, like I've never even made a cocktail. I still to this point don't even know what a cocktail even is at that point, right? Like I don't know what even remotely goes into it. But you know what? I in that moment I was just like, you know what? Let me take a moment. I'm gonna go to the side, just Google it right quick, take the ingredients and put it together. And when I did it, they were like, "Yo, this is the best espresso martini I've had." So it was very simple, like it. I think it's important that you highlighted that kind of like once you're there, and you should just let go
You know,
and do it.
you saying that kind of makes me think about something. I feel like the one surefire answer to overcoming your fear most
Yeah,
likely would be to just do it over and over and over and over again. Like keep exposing yourself to it multiple times. Because I feel like part of the human experience is the like getting overstimulated to the point where a particular stimuli just loses its effect on you because you're exposed to it so many times so often, like like when you're on your way to work, you see the same things over and over again to a point where you almost stop seeing them. Like, you not really stop seeing them, but you just stop noticing them or stop paying attention to them because it's like your attention just got brought onto them so often that you just don't really pick up on that anymore, right? It's like when you work, if you work in the kitchen and you're used to being around fire and your hands are used to holding really hot items all the time, eventually at some point you stop getting that sensory signal that, oh, this is hot, right? Because you're doing it over and over and over. So I feel like with fear it might be that way, where sometimes you just need to get exposed to it multiple times. But the thing is, it's not pleasant, and so most of us don't do it. I don't do it. If I see something that scares me, I'm like, if I can avoid it, I will, because the moment I saw it, it became something that's in my mind. I can think of everything that's ever scared me or disturbed me. It's engraved in my mind. I will never be able to forget those things, right?
Yeah.
So now I have to live with them, but I have to not let them be a handicap for me to live my best life. So I'm like, no, you're not going to prevent me from closing my eyes, because if I don't close my eyes, I'm gonna get soap in them, and I can't do that. So I
Yeah.
have to, right? But like, that's the thing. And um, because I was thinking about something else. Because recently, I had to do something at my work that involved going up on the rooftop, which meant taking a ladder to go up there. I don't like heights, and I hate ladders. I have this, um you can call it fear, that as soon as I step on them, they're gonna fall, which is, some people might call it irrational, because I see other people getting up on there and they're fine. So of course, there's nothing is gonna happen. But in my mind, I'm thinking, no, 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 that ladder looking a little wobbly, looking a little
Yeah.
stumble. I don't know. I don't know that I want to climb up on there.
Yeah.
And but so we all had to do it. And you know what I thought to myself? I was
What?
like, hey, I ain't no wuss. If y'all climbing that, I'm climbing that too. Get out of here, man. Let me do my thing. And I did. And I remember when I climbed up and down it, you want to know something?
What?
I didn't overcome no fear. I just made it work. I was still scared out of my mind. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't like this at all, but I'm gonna do it regardless. And I feel like that's what, like, sometimes it's just what you have to do, right? Even
Yeah.
if you're not completely over it, just push past it, right? That's why I love characters like Usopp, man. He's hated in the community, but I love him because he's like that. This stuff that scares him out of his mind, but it's like, no, I got to do it. I'm still scared for my life, but I'm still gonna go through with it, because
Yeah.
that's what I need to do for my crew, for my captain, all that, right? So I respect that so much, and I can relate to that.
Yeah. I know me, like, when like, growing up, I did boxing and MMA, and when I first started, I was very scared of like getting into fights. I was very scared like going in. Um because I was like, oh, well, like what's gonna happen? I don't know. Like, I could lose, I could win, like, and even if I win, like, it's definitely not of my own will or skill. Like, it's just like it's a miracle.
Mhm.
And fast forward to now, like, I teach people how to box, and I spar like on a regular basis, and I'm never really scared going in to spar with anybody. Sometimes it's very hard sparring, sometimes it's with random people, and when it's people you don't know, it's not really even a sparring. Sometimes people will just come in and to blow your head off. But now the difference is that one, I've done it enough times, right?
Mhm.
To the point that it's like almost desensitized to it. And two, it's that my skill level is much higher. So now it's like it doesn't matter like how good you think you are. Like, I'm sorry, this is gonna sound very arrogant, but I'm better than anybody in this tri-state area. I'm like, there's nobody that I'm gonna find that's gonna compete with me when it comes to boxing. It's just a fact.
You heard
It's
it here
just
first, people. So don't be
it's just
surprised if you get challengers coming for your title, man.
it's just something that it is what it is, and it hasn't been contested yet. Um and the thing is that like I go into these sparrings and nobody can really touch me. So it's kind of like an Escanor situation where I'm just like, yeah, like you're just not even on my level. So the thing is, you can train yourself with your fear to be like that, and it's not like every fear you're gonna get to that level, but you can kind of like level up, in the sense where like if you're scared of heights, um you can train yourself to kind of mitigate those fears a little bit. But the thing is, also, it's important to note that fear is also a natural response, and it can actually be a beneficial thing. And sometimes it's good to be scared of things, right? Like,
Yeah, it's a survival instinct kicking in.
yeah, you don't want to be in a supermarket and you see somebody with a gun, God forbid, and you're not scared. You're not like, oh my god, what the hell is happening right now? Like, you want to have that fear because, I mean, you don't want to just stand there in complete shock and not do anything and end up, God forbid, a victim
Yeah,
of a crime.
literally a sitting duck.
Yeah, like you don't want to be a sitting duck. So, there's a balance to it. You must overcome the fear, but you also must acknowledge it as well, and know that it's there, know how to identify it and discern it, I'd say. But yeah, man, this was a this is a really good topic. I feel like we're reaching the end of it. Do you have any kind of last words to say, Teddy, to the people about fear, Uzumaki at all?
I mean, of course, if you haven't read Uzumaki yet or any Junji Ito works, even if you're not into horror, man, I say check it out because it's great. Like it's a great experience, very immersive. The man has a way with illustrations, and I definitely recommend. I mean, I'm pretty sure whoever we're talking to, if they find this podcast, they probably know about Junji Ito. But just on the off chance that you don't, definitely worth a read, a watch, whatever medium you want to experience it in. And I mean, if you have any deep seated fears that might be crippling or that might uh, um, affect your life in any major ways, I have a very easy fix for you. Get you a girlfriend. Because you can't look like a little wuss to your girlfriend, right? And so it will make you braver as a result. I know this from experience because I hate cockroaches, right? And I've had many encounters with them, mostly unpleasant. You ever had flying cockroaches, man? You ever
Oh
been
yeah,
around
those
them?
are the worst.
Oh, terror, absolute terror. But I remember I was at a place, I was playing ping pong. I remember this so clearly because I was like, I can't believe I just done this. So I was playing ping pong, and then there was this really fine girl that was playing with us, and a cockroach popped up out of nowhere under the table, and she screamed. She's like, "Oh my god, what's happening? There's a cockroach there." Because she was scared, I don't know what happened in my mind. I was like, I can't be scared because she is. And so I kicked away the cockroach, bro. I handled that like a man. I was like, oh, like I felt so good after that. But then I went home. I was like, I can't believe I just done this. I don't usually
Yeah,
deal with cockroaches like that, but because a girl was involved, all of a sudden I'm a big dog. I'm the alpha. Yeah, ain't no cockroach gonna phase me. You know who I
yeah,
am? So yeah, I get you a girl, man. She'll
yeah,
make you a lot more courageous.
yeah. That's the archetype of the hero coming out. I know that's happened to me.
Yeah.
Like me, I live in New York, and you see all the horrible things happening on New York subway. People getting pushed onto the train tracks, sliced up, shot up. Um, and so for a while during the pandemic, that brought some fear to me going back on the train, right? And so I would see these crazy like people spazzing out, tweakers just going on a train, going crazy, talking about they're gonna kill everybody. And and I was, a little bit on edge. I was like, man, jittery, like anxious, when I first started getting back on the train. But there was this one instance that really brought me back to ground level where there was right across from me, there was this family. So it was a father, but the father was very frail. He was old already, it seemed. The mom, who was of course was elderly as well, and this young girl, this very very young girl, like maybe 5 or 6 years old, I would say. They were all right across from me, right, and they're just all chilling, just trying to get from point A to point B with their lives, right.
Mhm.
And then this freaking absolute rabid maniac comes in and starts talking crazy, talking about he's gonna do this, he's gonna do that, and at that moment I noticed that I felt no fear at all. And it was very different because normally I would feel like a little bit of fear, like does he have a gun or does he have a knife? Like, what is he doing? Is he actually gonna do something this time? Like, who knows? Like, I had to be ready. Am I gonna run? Am I gonna stay? Am I gonna fight? Like, what am I gonna do? This time there was none of that. This time the only thing was the only thought in my mind was continue watching him, observe him. If he even attempts to do anything, he's just gonna get obliterated. That's it. That's just the only option that's gonna happen. And the reason why I had that thought is the same reason you had that thought at ping pong, because I saw that little girl. Mainly, that little girl is what I saw in front of me, and I'm like, nah, somebody has to be strong in this cart
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
weak, basically. Like, I'm not gonna let like this happen to somebody, you know?
yeah.
And so that can be also something that pops up into your life as kind of a last thing. Like, sometimes when you're surrounding by people that you know you want to protect, and they don't even have to, like I said, like I just described, they don't even have to be people you know. When you know that there's good in this world, that you want to protect it, you will be able to stand up and fight against evil and darkness, because of course that's kind of human nature, I'd say. um but yeah, man, with that, that was my that was my last little tangent. It was a freaking amazing topic, I think. Really cool. I'm primed and ready for Halloween. Still don't know what I'm gonna be, but I got the night off, so I'm gonna come up with something.
I might just be Spider-Man. I ain't gonna lie to you. Just wear
Hey,
a
man.
mask and it's over.
Hey, man, that'll be fire. Spider-Man, you can't go wrong with Spider-Man. Everybody loves Spider-Man. That and
Exactly.
T-Rexes, Tyrannosaurus Rexes, people love those.
Really? I didn't know about that.
You never seen the huge T-Rex outfits, bro? That
No.
people wear? I'll
Oh,
show
oh,
you,
oh, yeah. Oh, no, no, no. Yeah,
with the little
no.
arms.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I don't know
Yeah.
what. Yeah, yeah,
When
yeah.
you see those are the life of the party every time, bro. People love those. Those are the best.
Yeah,
But
no.
uh
Be
but
Spider-Man.
yeah, man. With that, this has been the pursuit of anime, talking about Junji Ito's Uzumaki, and kind of the philosophy of fear, how to overcome it, kind of how we deal with fear, how we look at it. Let us know how you deal with your fear. What are some things that scare you? um you know what are some things that you'd like for us to talk about during this spooky season? um and with that, it looks like there's not much left to say, but peace.
Peace.